Looking at it, Jiang Hai had an impulse to tear the vest apart. As for the lower body, well, Jiang Hai really didn't look at it. When he bought it, he stood at the door of the shop and asked the shop assistant to help him choose. He really didn't know what the shop assistant chose. He only vaguely remembered the sizes of these girls. For example, Daliana and Marion should be B, Bernice should be C, and Little Ya should only be A+. After all, she was congenitally deficient in the past. As for Azalina, she should be D. This was also what made Jiang Hai most curious. When he first saw Azalina, she was only B, but after living here for so long, she had grown by 2 sizes. He had to admit that she was really scary. After the shop assistant finished choosing, Jiang Hai didn't look at it carefully, and directly paid the money and left. Now he regretted it. Because at this time Azalina chose. Not to mention the upper body, the problem was that there were no pants on the lower body. Instead, it was a high-waisted corset with a few bags hanging below, plus 2 thigh-high stockings. In other words, the key part was that it was endless and everything could be seen. After putting it on, Azalina deliberately sat on the sofa and raised her legs, perfectly showing her things that shouldn't be shown in front of Jiang Hai. Hey, this is the lower part of the clothes, it's quite convenient. Hearing Azalina's words, Jiang Hai had no choice but to retreat. He rolled and crawled to his room on the 2nd floor. He needed to calm down. This was really too much. After going to New York twice in a row, Jiang Hai was temporarily free because he really had nothing to do now. In mid-November, it was completely the rhythm of winter. Although it hadn't snowed yet this year, Winthrop was dry and cold. The girls had completely left the house. Only Jiang Hai would walk around every morning, going to the cowshed, the dock and the stable to take a look. Then he would come back to lie on the balcony on the 2nd floor, play with his mobile phone, read novels or play games or watch TV. Aphrodite and the others were also completely free because the winery was already in a semi-closed state. Dulles Gerard and O'Connor Murphy only needed to watch over there, mainly to guard against mice and the like. The girls had nothing to do at all. After they had nothing to do except for going back to their villa to sleep at night, they spent the rest of their time at Jiang Hai's place, watching the 5 girls put on their clothes. They, who had already done something that shouldn't have happened with Jiang Hai, were even more free. Sometimes Aphrodite and the others would even directly go topless, which made Jiang Hai quite depressed, but he still couldn't do anything. Because Bernice was watching from the side, as long as Aphrodite and the others came over, Bernice would follow Jiang Hai from time to time. Jiang Hai didn't know why she was like this, but she clearly didn't want anything to happen between him and these girls. In addition, Jiang Hai was thin-skinned, so it was really not easy to do anything. In this way, the days really went on so painfully and happily. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. People were afraid of being shaken. Everything was the same. Time would pass very quickly. Just like now, it was already December. As time went into December, the cold air of the Arctic began to move south. The sky that was originally quite clear in November was no longer clear after entering December. Dark clouds pressed down on the city. Of course, this was just an adjective. But in Boston, the city was really easy to rush because the snow here was too heavy. In fact, since entering November, Boston had snowed a few times, but it wasn't very heavy. After it snowed, the next day the snow was only 2 or 3 centimeters thick. Well, in fact, this snow was not considered heavy in the Northeast or Winthrop. After entering December, the real heavy snow came, and this first heavy snow was very fierce, falling for 2 days and 1 night. Unlike other places in North America, Winthrop was located on the bay side. It rained a lot in summer and snowed a lot in winter. Most importantly, the wind was not small. Although the forest played a big role, it was still wind after all, and it couldn't be completely blocked. The snowflakes kept falling down, and the north wind kept howling. Jiang Hai couldn't help but think of a song. The winter wind carries the snowflakes, blowing my tears down. Jiang Hai was now considered to be in a foreign country, but in his view he shouldn't be considered to be wandering. It rained for 2 days and 1 night. After staying outside for a night, Jiang Hai's work also started because he had to start shoveling the snow. Every year when it came to shoveling snow, Jiang Hai would have a headache because his manor was a little too big. There was no trouble at the dock because the sea water would not freeze. There was a layer of warm current under the sea, constantly surging up, so the sea water would not freeze and the snow would fall into the sea. But there was some trouble in the manor. The snow had to be shoveled down from the roof of the cowshed and the stable. Otherwise it would be easy to snow again and the cowshed would collapse. At that time, Jiang Hai wouldn't even be able to find a place to cry. In addition, the roads in the manor had to be cleared. The snow could be pushed onto the grassland. The land was not afraid of freezing, and the snow contained a certain amount of nutrients. When spring came next year, the snow would nourish the land and make it more fertile. Just like in China, why was the land in the 3 northeastern provinces the most fertile? First, it was because the land here could only be planted for half a year. Half a year was spent resting under the snow, so the fertility of the land was reduced. Second, it was because of the snow. On the morning of the second day after the snow stopped, Jiang Hai dressed up and walked out of the house early in the morning. After staying at home for 3 days, Jiang Hai shivered when he suddenly came out. He put on his gloves and saw Edouard Anderson and Robbins Garcia, who had already started working from a distance. Because the cowshed still needed someone to take care of it, the main work was now done by the fishermen on the dock. Only 2 cowboys came out, Robbins Garcia and Harriman Fells, and Jiang Hai's nominal bodyguard, Knerson Peters. Seeing Jiang Hai coming from a distance, these people also straightened up and smiled at Jiang Hai. "Phew, it's really cold," Jiang Hai said as he walked over and picked up a shovel casually. Today's weather forecast said that the highest temperature during the day was -12 degrees, which was really a little too cold. This couldn't be helped. After it snowed, the snow would absorb the sunlight and melt, so it would be particularly cold. "Ha, boss, this proves that you haven't left the house for the past few days. We've all gotten used to it." After listening to Jiang Hai's words, Robbins Garcia couldn't help but laugh. They didn't care whether it was snowing outside or not. The cows and horses had to eat, so no matter if it was raining or not, even if it was raining knives, Robbins Garcia and the others had to go to the cowshed. Now that he heard Jiang Hai's words, he couldn't help but laugh. However, this was also an innate problem. Jiang Hai was the boss and he didn't earn this hard-earned money. "Come on, let's get to work," Jiang Hai said with a smile. He picked up the shovel and shoveled the thick snow in front of him. The snow on the ground was very thick. Even Jiang Hai, who came from Bingqing, hadn't seen such thick snow in a while. The snow was very clean and sticky. With a shovel, a large piece could be scooped up. Of course, it was useless no matter how big the piece was because the snow was already knee-deep. After opening the door, Jiang Hai and Xiao Bai rushed out. Unfortunately, Jiang Hai couldn't find their location now. Needless to say, Jiang Hai knew that today was destined to be a very difficult battle. Fortunately, he only cleaned up his manner. Although it was very tiring, Jiang Hai was happy when he thought about the land outside in the town. This snow was enough to keep the residents of Winthrop and Mayor Wallace busy. According to the news, this kind of heavy snow should be considered a snow disaster. However, for the people of Boston, they were already used to such snow disasters. Because Boston would have such heavy snow every year, they already had a way to deal with it and had a tradition. No matter what the people outside were like, Jiang Hai and the others still had to work hard. However, this snow was indeed too heavy. Last year it also snowed here and it was similar to this. But last year Jiang Hai only needed to sweep 3 places: the front door and the parking lot, the road leading to the main entrance, the road leading to the pier, and the road leading to the cowshed. Just like that, he was busy for a day. This year he had to sweep an additional road, and that was the river. Jiang Hai's man-made river. Although it was next to the sea, there was a thin layer of ice on the river surface. Of course, Jiang Hai didn't need to sweep the snow on the river surface. The main thing he needed to sweep was the snow on the riverside road. This riverside road was very far away, almost as far as half of the manor. In addition, there was the road to the airport and the airport to sweep. He had to admit that it was indeed a little troublesome when his business was big. After spending an hour sweeping the parking lot, he spent another 2 hours sweeping the road to the entrance. Logically speaking, he should take a break now and sweep the road to the pier in the afternoon. However, looking at the vast expanse of white snow, Jiang Hai couldn't help but feel a little impatient. "Boss, if you don't want to sweep the snow, why don't you add a cover to the place where the snow needs to be swept?" Just as Jiang Hai decided to get a snowplow in the next few days, Knerson Peters, who had just swallowed a piece of steak, couldn't help but ask curiously. His brain is relatively slow, but he is not stupid. As soon as he said this, everyone quieted down. Did I say something wrong?" Seeing everyone quiet down, Knerson Peters couldn't help but ask with some doubts. "No, you're right. Why didn't I think of it?" Looking at the parking lot outside and the road over there, Jiang Hai didn't think of adding a cover there. Yes, it's just adding a cover, it doesn't need to be very good. As long as there are some columns made of reinforced concrete, then the cover will be reinforced and the top will be smooth and sloped. Not only the parking lot but also the road, so that even in the summer when it rains people won't get wet when they walk on the road. Although this was another sum of money, Jiang Hai was lacking in everything but money. Once this shed was built, it would indeed be able to solve the problem once and for all. Of course, this was just an idea. Even if Jiang Hai wanted to build it now, no construction team would be able to start work at this time. It has to be admitted that 3 stooges are better than 1 zhuge liang. After everyone had a meal, they thought of a way to solve the snow. A snowplow and a shed, these two have been put on the agenda by Jiang Hai, but now there is no way to buy a snowplow because at this time, not only is the snow in Jiang Hai's manor blocked, but the highway outside is also blocked. At least, when the snow is cleared and the highway outside can be used, Jiang Hai will go to Boston to buy a snowplow. After lunch, Jiang Hai and the others were busy again because they know that they don't have to sweep like this next time, so Jiang Hai and the others are still very energetic. In the afternoon, not only did they clear the road to the cowshed and the dock, but they also cleared the road to the airport. After returning, even if Jiang Hai's physical fitness is 4 times that of ordinary people, he still can't bear it. After dinner, he went directly to the room to sleep. The next morning they went to the airport to clear the snow. The airport is very important here. Because they have to rely on the plane at the airport to patrol every day, no one knows if someone will come to steal the fish. The fish in Jiang Hai's fish farm are very important. They are his private property. In the afternoon, Jiang Hai and the others continued to sweep the road by the river. After sweeping for the whole afternoon, they only swept 2/3 of the road. After another day of rest, on the 3rd day, Jiang Hai and the others used the whole morning to sweep the remaining 1/3 of the road. At this time, the highway outside their door is also cleared. Jiang Hai is very clear about the character of the people in the town. If he borrows it, then someone will go to the town to borrow it, and the town is very likely to borrow it. Jiang Hai is not stingy, in fact he is stingy. Why should the snowplow he bought be used by the town? Besides, if the town is really in trouble he can donate one, but the problem is that the town is definitely not in trouble this year. Okay, my dear granddad from the mysterious East. Hearing Jiang Hai's words, Mayor Wallace knew that Jiang Hai will not lend the car to him no matter what. This Jiang Hai is a very stubborn person. If there's something, if there's nothing, I'm going back. Hearing that the old man kept going astray, Jiang Hai couldn't help but look at him and open the door. If there's something, let's talk inside. After hearing Jiang Hai's words, Mayor Wallace laughed, stepped on the accelerator, and ran into the door opened by Jiang Hai. Jiang Hai also drove the snowplow back to the manor. Of course, when he went back, he also sent a message to Bernice and the others. There are guests coming. If they are still wearing the same clothes, it will be troublesome. Fortunately, Bernice and the others are still very vigilant. When they saw Mayor Wallace's car, they had already changed their clothes. When Jiang Hai parked the car and walked into the villa with Mayor Wallace, Bernice and the others were all ready. Mayor, you are here. Seeing Mayor Wallace come in, Bernice and the others couldn't help but smile at him. Hey, I came to talk to Jiang Hai about something. Looking at the scene in front of him, Mayor Wallace also said with a smile, and then sat on the sofa that had been empty for him. Jiang Hai went to the refrigerator and took 2 bottles of Coke, one for himself and one for the mayor. After taking a sip, Jiang Hai looked at Mayor Wallace, wanting to see what he came here for. Looking at Jiang Hai in front of him, Mayor Wallace asked Jiang Hai with a smile. I won't beat around the bush. Isn't it already December? Jiang, you should also know how important December is for us. Christmas. Taking a sip of Coke, Jiang Hai looked at Mayor Wallace and asked. Yes, it's Christmas. In the past, when we celebrated Christmas, each family celebrated it by themselves. But this year the town has some money, so I'm going to hold a Christmas dinner on the last day of Christmas, during the carnival. Looking at Jiang Hai, Mayor Wallace said with a serious face. Hearing his words, Jiang Hai nodded. It didn't matter to do some such activities. Such a dinner can deepen the townspeople's sense of honor and unity, which is also beneficial for Jiang Hai. What do you need me to do? Provide ingredients or pay some money? Looking at Mayor Wallace in front of him, Jiang Hai is still willing to pay. He is not really stingy. Some money should be spent, he will still spend, especially when it is to earn face for himself. There's no need for money. The town has made a lot of money in the past few months. It's not a problem to pay for this banquet. As for the ingredients, we can't afford the ingredients here. I came here this time for 2 reasons. First, to get your approval. Second, to get you to make a show. Looking at Jiang Hai, Mayor Wallace said with a smile, but as soon as his words fell, Jiang Hai was stunned. Make a show? Is this a joke? Westerners also watch crosstalks, skits, and so on during the holidays? That's too ridiculous. Looking at Jiang Hai's puzzled eyes, Mayor Wallace also explained to Jiang Hai. Because the organizer is the town, there is no need for the townspeople to pay. The venue, decorations, and so on are all done by us. However, the townspeople also have to show something. This is not money but a show, singing, dancing, talk show, anything is fine. Jiang Hai, by the way, you have always wanted to integrate into the town. You have to let the townspeople see you, a living you like ordinary people, telling jokes and embarrassing yourself. If you stay in your manner all the time, you will never really integrate into this town. Looking at Jiang Hai's puzzled eyes, Mayor Wallace also explained to Jiang Hai. Hearing his words, Jiang Hai refused at first. He was not going to perform on stage. It would be too embarrassing. But after hearing Mayor Wallace's words, Jiang Hai couldn't help but frown. He wondered if it was worth it. As for Jiang Hai, after being stunned for a moment, he continued to drink his juice. Looking at Jiang Hai, Bernice patted him on the shoulder and said with a headache, "You still have the mood to drink juice? I thought SH-20 Clive was a lifesaver, but now she took my sister away. What show do you think we are playing? If it doesn't work, we can just sing. After thinking about it, if you don't know how to act, then sing." This is also Jiang Hai's survival rule. It doesn't need to be amazing, but at least it's not too moving. This is Jiang Hai's idea. Sing? Sing what? Sing your iron pot. Bernice rolled her eyes at Jiang Hai and remembered the song Jiang Hai sang last night. What the hell is that? No, I learned another song from Nanua last night. Shaking his head, Jiang Hai said with a serious face. Nanua? You even know the songs from there? Looking at the serious Jiang Hai in confusion, Bernice's sixth sense told her that he was going to cheat her, but she still subconsciously asked out of curiosity. But after asking, she regretted it, but it was already too late. Yeah, it's like this, brace girl, but Beauty's sister has such a powerful asterisk. Go to hell. Even if he didn't want to admit it, the number of fans in China was really not small. Pulling the topic back, the three girls were very excited when Xiaoye and the others returned. This was their first time performing in a stage play. They heard that they had already found other actors to play the roles of snowmen, reindeers, snow giants, and so on, and now that the roles were confirmed, they still had to come over tomorrow to practice their lines and then rehearse. From today onwards they would be very busy people. After Jiang Hai drove back to his house, he discussed with everyone. Jiang Hai wanted to learn martial arts from Azalina. He was really prepared to go on stage to perform martial arts. However, to his surprise, Azalina only knew how to kill people and not martial arts. Fortunately, at the crucial moment there was still Bernice. When she heard that Jiang Hai wanted to go on stage to perform, she said that she would teach Jiang Hai the set of martial arts she knew. As for Bernice, she was still picking songs. The three girls wanted to go to town, but they didn't have a driver. In the end, Azalina took the initiative and said that she would protect them and be their driver. With Azalina around, Jiang Hai would be more at ease. The next day, when Jiang Hai came back from feeding Xiaoxia in the morning, there was only one of the 5 girls left in the house. Come get ready. It's time to start training, Bernice said seriously to Jiang Hai with headphones on and music on. Anytime. Looking at her, Jiang Hai also smiled. Then he got into her starting position and looked at her with a smile. Pretty decent. Then let's start. First move, coiling dragon and tiger distance. Seeing that Jiang Hai had assumed the starting position of her set of boxing moves, and it was exactly the same, Bernice couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Then she chuckled. It seems that Jiang Hai had secretly learned a lot from her. However, it didn't matter even if he secretly learned. She didn't have any sectarian bias. Now she wanted to see how much Jiang Hai could learn. They are different from the prisoners on the June Flower ship that came to North America. Most of the people on their side were later immigrants from the British government when they colonized the United States. There are also some defeated soldiers and their families. In their eyes, the adventurous spirit of the Americans is rude, brainless, and unwise. In the eyes of the Americans, most of the adults are pretending to be noble and polite, but in fact they are a group of cowards. Of course, this is a bit too one-sided, but this is like the legendary regional dog. The two countries wear the same pants on the official side, but among the people they don't get along well with each other. Of course, it is fine in the big cities, but in smaller places, there will be some friction. Obviously, Winthrop is not a big place. Wallace, it looks like we can only end tonight's banquet here. Turning his head, Murray Smith shrugged at Mayor Wallace Covey, indicating that the banquet had to end early. Although he was somewhat unwilling, he still arranged for it to be first. I know. The deers coming down the mountain is not a joke. Everyone, we may have to stop here tonight. Now let's pack up and go home. Unless it's a last resort, don't go out for the time being. Hearing Mayor Smith's words, Mayor Wallace also raised his hands and said loudly to the people around him. Hearing Mayor Smith's words, most people nodded and then began to walk out, But there are some young people who are a little confused, such as Jiang Hai.